All right, I've cleaned up the machine and we have our sample roughly put in, and you can see there's about 500 millimeters basically in between our 3-point bending apparatus. We'll show you how to kind of disassemble this. One of the key things is you see kind of these locking rings that are right there, and you can kind of see that in basically these two locking rings always need to be here. There's two locking rings that need to be put in here. You can kind of adjust essentially the spacing, but we're going to go ahead and I'm going to set up. We're going to pull in this software here. So we're going to start it up. We're going to go to new test, but actually we're not going to actually do new test. Actually, let's do new test just to practice. We're going to say new method. So I'm going to do a static test. There's combination, there's fatigue, programming functions. You can get pretty fancy with this, but I'm just going to do this for now. I'm going to call this 3P2, 3.2, and then I'm going to measure force, and I want to do stroke, which is essentially the displacement of the ram. I'm going to do a 3-point bending test. It is going to be a round sample. I'm not going to input any of these parameters here because I am going to measure those and actually do the calculations by hand later, which is what we should always want to do instead of trusting the software necessarily. I am going to go, this is really critically important. We're going to control based on the stroke. We're not going to go millimeters per minute. That's way too fast. So we're going to actually load it at about, let's say 10 millimeters per minute. I am going to go into compression. So when I'm doing a compression test, which is essentially the bending, I need to click on reverse polarity. Monitor, we're not going to change anything after start. Break level, so this is basically when the sample is going to break. So when the level reaches 1 kilonewton, pretty appropriate. Relative drop of 10 kilonewtons, that's okay as well, based on this sample. So let's go ahead and we are going to go to next here. We're going to go to next again. Now this is our limits. So basically our test limit. So we have 100 kilonewton load cell. So our maximum top end will be 100. Our bottom end will be minus 100. So we can go 100 kilonewtons in compression and tension. TD2 is basically our stroke length. Now, right now we're at 39. Remember, if we are going positive, it goes down. So actually we need to move this thing up. And that means negative. So we're going to be reducing this number. So our maximum stroke will be 40. And one thing I just made a mistake on, I want the stop to be a position hold. And I want over here, standard stop is going to be position hold. So it's not going to kind of shut off all of our parameters here. Our min, I'm only going to allow it to move to 20. So that's going to be where it'll stop as well. Good. And let's go ahead. I am going to call this, save this method, 3P2. That's looking good. Save that. I'm going to go and I'm going to increase the pressure just slightly. So, just to make sure that we can handle the force. I'll increase it to about 12. And we'll show you that equation later. It's just a ratio of essentially the total force that we can hit. So let's go ahead and we have our force, which is essentially right here at 0. I'm actually going to move, and actually let's set it up here because I need both hands to operate this. So let's set this up as such. I need to move that crosshead down. So I'm going to unclamp, unlock, unlock, unclamp down, and I'm going to jog it just perfect. Lock it up. And usually, obviously, I would want to zero this, but I'm just doing this for kind of a demonstration here. I don't want to change the stroke necessarily unless I zero this as well, which is what we can do. But again, this is just for a demonstration today. So I can look at limits, I can look at everything else, but I think we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and start. And we have to click one more button. Confirm. And you'll see we're starting to press. And there you go. And I'm just going to go ahead and stop this. Oh.